it wasn't your fault. It is my pleasure to welcome one of my good friends, and we have become good friends. When I first came here, Rev Kathleen Hellenberg was known as the other minister that lives down the street. And she would come here occasionally to guest speak, and Gregory would come with her. And at some point, and I don't know what changed, but they decided to start attending regularly. And we've been very grateful. Reverend Kathleen is our current choir director, and she really whips us into shape lovingly. Reverend Kathleen is an ordained minister. She was ordained by James Twyman. She's a minister of the Beloved Community. How long? Do you remember?
I think it was 2007.
You were ordained in 2007? Okay, great. So she has a lot to share with us, and she always does give a great message. So let's welcome Reverend Kathleen Hellenberg to the podium.
Thank you, Reverend Carol. Hello, everyone. Hello. I'm very happy to share some information with you today about the frequencies of love and gratitude and their power to heal. There are three men whose work illustrate this power, and they are Dr. Masaru Emoto, David R. Hawkins, MD, PhD, and Jonathan Goldman. Dr. Masaru Emoto is known worldwide for his work with water. The concept of microcluster water and magnetic resonance analysis technology inspired him to begin his quest to discover the mystery of water. In his book, Love Thyself, The Message from Water 3, Dr. Emoto wrote, "Water helped me understand religion and prayer and gave me a clue to understanding the nature of energy." Utilizing information from various researchers and members of his own staff, a technique of frozen water crystal photography was developed. What he found was that photos taken of frozen water crystals from water that, for example, were taken from a pond at a shrine where people came to pray, or water that received positive energy directed at it by a group of people, or even a glass of water that sat on the words peace or reverence, showed crystals that were symmetrical, intricate, and beautiful. Crystals of water that were exposed to toxins, pollution, or negative words such as blasphemy or names of diseases formed crystals that were misshapen, ugly, and even grotesque. Dr. Emoto considers the crystal that formed when he exposed water to the words love and thanks the most beautiful crystal of all. On the cover of his aforementioned book is the quote, "To love yourself is to love and thank all of existence." When I was in the seminary program to become a peace minister of the Beloved Community, all the students were given a list of books, and our assignment was to choose 5 books and give a book report on each one. I am so glad that one of my choices was the book Power versus Force by David R. Hawkins. Dr. Hawkins was the director of the Institute for Spiritual Research, Inc., until his death in 2012. He used kinesiology. Do you know what that means? Do you know, everybody familiar with kinesiology? It's muscle testing. And so if I were to muscle test you and say, hold out your arm and ask you your name, and you gave me your name, your muscle would stay strong. If you gave me a false name, your muscle would go weak. So he used kinesiology to determine whether something was true or not. And with the results, developed what he calls a map of consciousness. This map correlates to the findings of Dr. Emoto in that the more positive something is, the more powerful it is. The more negative, the weaker it is. He gave this map of consciousness a number scale from 0 to 1,000, with shame and humiliation at 20, and pure consciousness and enlightenment at 700 to 1,000, with 200 being the point at which weak and negative can switch to powerful and positive. He wrote that the difference in power between a loving thought and a fearful thought is so enormous. However, even a few loving thoughts during the course of the day can more than counterbalance all of our negative thoughts. And that one individual at level 700, one individual at level 700 counterbalances 70 million individuals below level 200. Now on to the third person. Jonathan Goldman is a sound healing pioneer, master teacher, and Grammy-nominated recording artist. He's written many books and articles, given classes, lectures, and workshops, and has received many awards for his work that helps awaken and empower others with the ability of sound to heal and transform. One outstanding thing that he shared is the equation: frequency plus intent equals healing. Frequency plus intent equals healing. I have a few examples of how this can play out in everyday life from my own experience. The first one involves my going to a store that has a lot of products that I can't find at any other store. And the store has a front door and a back door, and right outside the back door are several parking spots. And then behind the parking spots is a very narrow alley, and it's so narrow that it's a one-way alley. So once you enter into that and you can't find a parking spot, you have to go all the way to the end of the block, go all the way around, and then come back into the alley and hope you get a spot. And this particular day I had a big list of things I wanted from this store. And so I get in the alley and there's no spots. And I went around and around and around and around, and I started getting frustrated. And then I went around some more and they started feeling angry. And then all of a sudden I realized this is a negative energy. This is a negative frequency. And I changed it to giving thanks for a parking spot behind the store. And immediately, all the tension that was building up, the anger, just stopped, started to drain. I felt so much better. And when I did that, I was just about to enter the alley. So I had to go around a couple more times. And when the second or third time I went around, there were several spots available for me to choose from. So I went in and had a most successful shopping trip and came out with 2 big bags of groceries that I was able to easily carry to my car. So I was very happy with that. So the frequency was thanks, and the intention was a parking spot behind the store. And the healing was all that negative energy just went away, and I had a most successful trip. The second example is a bit longer. It involves a situation I had with the car I used to have. The car that I have now is a Subaru Forester. This is my third Subaru Forester. And I never loved a car until I had a Subaru Forester. And a couple winters ago, this car that I had started to have problems, and it was kind of like, okay, this is the start. This is making this car unreliable. There's a whole bunch of things that need work on it. It's time for me to look for a newer model. So my sister-in-law, Kathy, and her husband, John, stepped up to help me. John used to work as a mechanic, and for decades, he's been working on cars outside of work at his home. So he got my car running and kept it, safe for me to drive, while they both helped me look for a different car. And so when either one of us found a car that, was a possibility, we would find a day where we could all get together. They would come and get me. We'd go take a test drive. Kathy would ask me, like, do you like the car? Do you like the colors? Is it comfortable? What do you like about it? And John would take a throw rug and a flashlight, and he would inspect the car outside, the body of the car. He'd inspect it under the hood. He'd put that rug down on the icy pavement, lay on his back, slide under the car, and look underneath to see if there were any red flags that was like, this is not a good car for you to get. So when I found a car that I thought, I really like this car, one of the things that he noticed, and this was like the biggest thing, and kind of like one of the only things that was a major thing, was that the tires should have been rotated a long time ago. And he said, just, as soon as you can after you take it home, bring it over to the house and I'll rotate the tires for you. So when I did that, Kathy and I stayed in the house and we were visiting, and John was working on the car. And there was a bunch of other things that I just had questions about and wanted him to check out. So he did those first, and then he started, and he got the car ready to rotate the tires. And then he asked Kathy to go outside, and they were out there for quite a while. And when they finally came in, they said, do you know where your lug nut key is? And I was like, I don't even know what a lug nut key is. And John explained that you have to have a lug nut key to unlock the lug nuts on the tires for this car. And if you don't, I can force them off, but then you have to buy all new lug nuts. So he couldn't rotate the tires for me. And he said, well, I'll keep looking to see if I can find out which lug nut you need specifically for this car. And when he did, he emailed the information to me, and I wrote it down on a piece of paper, and he gave me instructions on going to a particular discount tire store to get this product. And another thing that was not very good, in very good shape, was the windshield wipers. And he said, go to an AutoZone store, and if you're lucky, they'll be able to put the new ones on for you right then and there. Well, my husband, when he was alive, used to take care of all the car stuff, and I was very apprehensive in having to do this, and I was very uncomfortable. And the place that he told me to go for the discount tire, he gave me directions on the freeway, and this was at a time when there was just like so much construction and so many detours, and I was like, I don't want to go to that one. If I get lost, I'm going to be lost, and I'm going to have lots of anxiety and problems and stuff. So I'm going to research and find one that I think I feel more comfortable going to. I can go on the city streets. But I would think of all this. I had to do this while I was in my car, And then I'd get home and I'd go in my house and I'd forget all about stuff for my car, because also I was apprehensive and I didn't want to do it. So I finally got it together one day. I had a day off from work, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna target this day. I'm gonna get this stuff done, and I'm just so relieved I have it all taken care of. So when I go anywhere that is going to take a while, other than 5 minutes or so, I say a little prayer and I give thanks for my safe driving, the safe driving of everyone around me, whether my car is in motion, stopped, or parked, all the way where I'm going and all the way home. And I usually do this while I'm in the car, but this day I had all this stuff to deal with, so I thought, I'm going to start saying this while I'm getting ready and I'm still in the house. So I did that, and then I thought, oh, I feel so apprehensive. I'm just going to give thanks for a successful shopping trip, and for good interactions with the people that work at the store and anybody else I have interaction with. And I got in the car, and I had already just determined my route. I was going to go to AutoZone first, and I was going to go to Discount Tire, and I had one more errand, and then I could go home. So I go into the AutoZone store, and there's this big long counter from the front door all the way to the back, and there's 3 cash registers and there's 3 cashiers, and there's a bunch of people, customers, on this side of the counter. And at the 3rd cashier, there's a woman standing to the left of that cashier, and she's speaking extremely loudly, and the attention of everyone in that store is at watching this interaction. And I'm thinking, is she angry, or is she just trying to explain something, or what's going on? And behind her were several other AutoZone employees, all milling about, listening to what's going on and mumbling around to themselves. So I thought, well, I guess I won't go to that one. Which cashier should I ask for help? And I was closest to the one in the middle, and he turned and he said, "Hello, miss, how may I help you today?" And it just made me laugh, because I don't usually get called miss. And I just thought that was so cute. He was a very slight man. He had his dreadlocks gathered up at the back of the top of his head, and they were very long, even though. And he had the biggest rim glasses I have seen in a while. And he had the glass was tinted so dark I could not see beyond the tint. And he said, so I told him I needed windshield wipers front and back, and he said, "I can help you with that." And so he punched in a bunch of keys, and then he said, "What is the make, model, and year of your car?" So I told him, and he punched in some more stuff, and he said, "Okay, we have that. I'll go get that for you." And as he came around, he asked me, "Is your car here?" I said, "Yeah, it's right in the front." And he was so polite. He had people following him that they were, ready to go leave the store. He opened the door, he let them go, ahead of him, and then he greeted everyone. And then there were a bunch of people coming in at the same time, and he greeted all of those people. And then he looked at my car, and he came back in and got the wipers and brought them to the counter. And as he was starting to bring them up, he said, "Now, I can put the front ones on for you, but we are not taught to put the back ones on, so AutoZone cannot take responsibility for that." And so I thought, well, that's no big deal. John will probably just have no problem putting it on when I take the car over there to get the tires rotated. So he after I paid for him, before we did this, when he was almost done, before he made the final ring, he said, "Is there anything else I can help you with?" And I said, "Well, I need a lug nut key." And he said, "We have that. I can help you with that." I was like, "Oh, cool. I don't even have to go to the other store. This is great." And I said, "I have the type I need, information on a piece of paper, but I left it in the car because I didn't think you had that here. And he said, okay. So we went outside. He started working on the wipers. I got the slip out of the car, and he could not release that wiper. And he was trying and trying and trying. And he dug in his pocket and got a coin, and he was trying to loosen it, and that didn't work. He's working with his nails, and finally he got it off. And he said, wow, that must have been on there a long time. And I started telling him about the rotten customer service I had at the car dealer where I bought the car. And I told him about John, wanting to rotate the tires for me, and there was no lug nut key. And he said, well, that's terrible. He said, let me take a look at your back wiper. So he went back and looked at it, and he said, well, that's the clip kind. I know how to put that on. I'll put that on for you. So he did that. And then I gave him the slip of paper. We went back inside. He punched up some more keys, and he said, okay, I'll go get that. And then he found that there were 2 different sizes that had the same numbers. So he brought both of them, and we went outside, and he squatted down, and he was looking back and forth from each one to the lug nuts, and he decided it was the smaller one. So we went back in. I paid for it. He cut it open. We went back outside. He squatted down again. He turned it, and it was the right one. And then he locked it again. And he put it back in the container, and he gave it to me. And he said, now, I always keep mine in my glove box or my trunk, because then if something happens, I'll have it right there, and I don't have to mess around trying to get somebody to come and help me. And I said, well, thank you so much. And he said, you're very welcome. Whatever you need, we're here for you. I don't even remember family members saying that kind of thing to me. I was so impressed and so happy and so relieved. So, again, the frequency was giving thanks for all this stuff. The intent was having a successful shopping trip, and the healing was I had really good service. And I got what I needed, and I didn't have to go all over the place for it. And, some stores have like a thing on the receipt that says, go on the line and take our survey and let us know how we're doing. And a lot of them are really, really long and complicated. And this one was extremely short, and it didn't have any mention of the person that waited on me. So, but at the end of it, there was a box that we could leave comments. So I put down that this is the best customer service I have ever had anywhere, ever. So, expressing love and thanks for what we want utilizes a very high frequency. When I do this, I feel like a door opens that establishes my readiness to receive. Remember the saying, be careful what you ask for because you just might get it? If you give thanks for what you want, you will most likely receive what you want in a way that is faster, better, and beyond what you ever thought possible. Try it. Thank you.
Thank you.